What's up, everybody? I'm back, and I'm continuing to go over everything that was being printed in the press at the time of Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey's arrest, their trial, and everything post-trial as well. Now, we are well into the post-trial articles of these videos. The first article from today is from August 13th, 2016, and is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal, and it's a big one. It's when Brendan Dassey was ordered to be released from prison because they came to the conclusion that his confession was coerced. The headline is, U.S. Court Orders Release of Brendan Dassey. Confession of Steven Avery's nephew may have been coerced. A judge on Friday overturned the conviction of a Wisconsin man found guilty of helping his uncle kill a woman in a case profiled in the Netflix documentary series Making a Murderer, ruling that investigators coerced a confession using deceptive tactics. U.S. Magistrate William Duffin in Milwaukee ordered Brendan Dassey freed within 90 days unless prosecutors decide to retry him. The State Department of Justice, which handled the case, declined to comment Friday. The state could also appeal Duffin's ruling. Dassey's case burst into the public's consciousness with the popularity of Making a Murderer, that debuted in December on Netflix. The filmmakers cast doubt on the legal process to convict Dassey and his uncle Steven Avery in the death of Teresa Halbach, and their work sparked national interest and conjecture. Authorities involved in the case have called the 10-hour series biased, while the filmmakers stood by their work. Now, you can talk about how Making a Murderer edited things and did all kinds of stuff, but I am sure that this judge didn't just watch, or that this U.S. magistrate just didn't watch Making a Murderer and come to the conclusion that, oh, because of this documentary, I believe, just because of what I've watched in this documentary, that means that this confession was coerced. I don't believe that for 1 second. This judge, or this magistrate, whatever, obviously did their homework on the case, watched the confession. I'm just assuming this. I have absolutely no idea. I'm assuming that they just didn't watch a documentary and then come to the conclusion that the confession was coerced. I'm assuming that they did their homework, they watched the confession, they read trial transcripts, they did whatever it is they did to come to the conclusion that the confession was coerced, and then ordered the release of Brendan Dassey based on that. So a U.S. magistrate did all of this and came to the conclusion himself that Brendan Dassey should be released from prison. The article continues. Brendan Dassey confessed to helping Steven Avery carry out the killing of Teresa Halbach, but his attorneys argued that his constitutional rights were violated through the investigation. Dassey didn't testify at his uncle's trial, and his confession wasn't presented as evidence there. Both men are serving life sentences. Duffin said in his ruling that investigators made false promises to Dassey by assuring him he had nothing to worry about. These repeated false promises, when considered in conjunction with all relevant factors, most especially Dassey's age, intellectual deficits, and the absence of a supportive adult and lawyer, that doesn't say this, but there was no lawyer there either, supportive adult, rendered Dassey's confession involuntary under the 5th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution. Dassey, who is now 26, was 16 when Teresa Halbach was killed in 2005 after she went to the Avery family auto salvage yard to take pictures of some vehicles. Court papers described Dassey as a slow learner with poor grades, with difficulty understanding some aspects of language and expressing himself verbally. He was also described as extremely introverted and poor at picking up on communication, such as body language and tone. Dassey was convicted of first-degree intentional homicide, second-degree sexual assault, and mutilation of a corpse in Halbach's killing. Avery was tried and convicted separately in the homicide. Friday's ruling came after Dassey's appeal was rejected by the state courts. A judge stated that Dassey's confession to police in 2006 was so clearly involuntary that a state appeals court ruling to the contrary was an unreasonable application of established federal law. The court does not reach this conclusion lightly. The investigators did not have any ill motive, the judge wrote, but rather an intentional effort to trick Dassey into confessing. How is that not an ill motive? Weird. The error was not harmless because Dassey's confession was the entirety of the case against him. Laura Nyrider, one of Dassey's attorneys, said he thought that if he told investigators what they wanted to hear, he'd get to go back to school. This is justice for that 16-year-old kid who we all saw being bullied into giving a statement that was completely untrue. Dassey, who has been incarcerated for 10 years, is in shock and wants to go home, she said. If prosecutors decide to bring a new trial, the confession would not be usable, she said. A brother who has acted as Halbach's family spokesman did not immediately respond to phone messages and an email. Kathleen Zellner, an attorney for Stephen Avery, said in a statement that Avery was thrilled for his nephew. Avery is pursuing his own appeal. We know when an unbiased court reviews all of the new evidence we have, Stephen Avery will have his conviction overturned as well. Joe Friedberg, a defense attorney in Minnesota who was not involved in the case but is familiar with it and participated in a forum on it with Avery's first defense attorney, said he doesn't believe the decision will have any bearing on Stephen Avery's case. The kid's confession was not entered into evidence against Stephen Avery, and I don't think it impacted Avery's trial at all. Netflix last month announced new episodes were in production to follow appeals by both Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. So that was a weird part of that story. We're going to find it here. The investigators did not have any ill motive, but rather an intentional effort to trick Dassey into confessing. That is in the same paragraph. That's I don't get that. The next article from today, and it is from the Madison Sunday State Journal, and it talks about the overturning of Brendan Dassey's conviction as well. Verdict overturned. New annex date. U.S. Magistrate William Duffin overturns Brendan Dassey's conviction in the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach, finding investigators coerced a confession using deceptive tactics. Also, Madison and Fitchburg officials propose a plan to dissolve the town of Madison at the end of this year rather than October 1st, 2022. I wonder if that actually happened. I have to look into that. So those are the articles we're going to go over today. It's a big one. It's when Brendan Dassey's confession was deemed that it was coerced and he was ordered to be released from prison. Now, we all know what ended up happening. But what an amazing day this would have been, only to have it come crashing down a little while later. But man, a judge, a magistrate, looked at this confession, looked at everything that Brendan Dassey said, looked at how everything was asked to him, and came to the conclusion that this confession was coerced, that they intentionally tried to trick Brendan Dassey into confessing to this crime. And then somehow it got reversed again. Just absolutely crazy. What do you think? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.